Welcome back to SheCOMMERCE, where power women, bold brands, and real talk collide.
One day I'll have two actual things colliding. That's my
Yes.
plan. That's my dream. Hi, everybody. We're Cristina and Jacqui, and today we have a very special Father's Day episode that perfectly captures both the she and the commerce of SheCOMMERCE.
That's right. Today's conversation will focus on fatherhood, allyship, creativity, AI, and the future of work, all through the lens of one very unique, very special guest. We'll be talking about what it means to raise strong young women and how sometimes that can backfire on you as a parent, how creativity is evolving in the age of Gen AI, and what skills matter most in future workplaces, and why some of the most important leadership lessons don't come from the boardroom, they come from home.
And trust me, this guest has plenty of material to work with at home. But before we bring him in, let's spill some tea.
Him, it's a clue.
Mm-hmm. We love celebrating women who are making power moves, and this week we're giving a huge shout out to a familiar face in the SheCOMMERCE sisterhood.
Yes. Congratulations to former SheCOMMERCE guest, Fiza Ijaz, on her new role as, drumroll, Strategy and Innovation Lead for Liquid IV International at Unilever North America. Fiza has always brought a fearless combination of strategic thinking, innovation, and leadership to everything she does, and we're excited to see the impact she will most certainly make in this next chapter of her career. Congratulations, Fiza. You know, Jackie and I are cheering you on from the sidelines, and we can't wait to have a celebratory drink with you.
So happy for you, Fiza. Awesome work.
And now, on to today's special guest. Today's guest is a little different and a lot more personal. We're joined by Andrew Pearson, award-winning creative director, content strategist, storyteller, and one of the most influential creative leaders working in the beverage industry today. Over the course of his career, Andrew has gone from agency copywriter to leading creative and content strategy for some of the world's most iconic brands. His work has earned recognition across the industry's most prestigious stages, including Cannes Lions, One Show Pencils, Effie's, Clio's, and even a Grand Prix at the Lorries, the largest advertising awards show across Africa and the Middle East. From agency life to leadership roles at Pernod Ricard and now Diageo, Andrew has spent his career helping brands connect with people through powerful storytelling, creativity, and culture. And as the industry stands at another inflection point with AI, he's helping shape conversations around what changes, what doesn't, and what remains uniquely human. But today isn't just about marketing. In honor of Father's Day, we're also celebrating one of the most important men in my life, my husband, my partner, and my favorite person to debate absolutely everything with. Andrew is a proud girl dad, a devoted bonus dad, and currently the only male resident in a household occupied by me, our 3 daughters, and our live-in nanny, which means he spends his days navigating global brands and his evenings navigating dance recitals, girl drama, cheer competitions, emotional negotiations, Taylor Swift playlists, and levels of sass that no leadership training could ever prepare you for. Today, we're talking about fatherhood, creativity, allyship, raising strong young women, the evolution of advertising, and what the future of work looks like in an AI-powered world. Andrew, welcome to SheCOMMERCE.
Thank you, Cristina. Thank you, my darling. It's really, really nice to be here. Jackie, thank you for having me as well. I'm really excited to be on the show. Thank you.
You can call Jackie your darling too. It's fine.
Okay. Both my darlings.
You lucky man. Andrew, you know that Cristina has a high regard for you if she's doing the intro for you, and such a lovely one as well, right?
I do. I mean, there's, many times a day I think to myself that I'm a very, very lucky chap. I guess it's just another one of those times.
That is so sweet. Okay, now before we get into AI and advertising, we need the tea. And by tea, I mean the heavy stuff, the lap song souchong, right? So tell us all the goss, Andrew. Cristina talks about you all the time. So we want to shake things up a bit and start with a brief lightning round to learn your version of your love story. And we're going to start with who made the first move?
I did. I'd known Cristina for a while professionally. When I was at Ogilvy, she was on the client side, both at Mondelez and Records. So we knew each other sort of professionally. And then when I moved to the States, we met at a couple of conferences and workshops and that kind of thing. And, so we'd become friends that way. But then as our lives changed and all of that, and I realized that there was an opportunity to potentially ask this lady out, I went for it. I wasn't going to hesitate. I asked her out for dinner, asked her out for a little bit of a date, and the rest is history.
Fantastic. And what was your first impression of Cristina?
Whoa, this lady's smart. Goodness gracious. Christina's obviously a very striking lady, but then when you realize the brains that come with the package, it's quite a thing.
And when did you realize she was smarter than you, Andrew?
3 minutes into our first conversation.
Now, this is a question that I think only you could answer with full experience. What is the most Cristina thing that Cristina does?
Well, I think get stuff done. I'll be quite proud of myself for having a pretty good day at work, getting a few things done around the house, and we'll be catching and chatting up. She said, like, well, I spoke to this person, I organized this thing, I did that, I've arranged this, I sorted out these things in about half an hour. She's probably one of the most high-functioning, efficient people I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah, you know what? That drives me nuts about her too.
But I have a feeling that's because she just never sleeps.
Well, yeah, there's also that. She never sleeps and looks like that. How is that even fair in this world? What habit does she have though, Andrew, that drives you insane?
Doesn't sleep. 3-4 hours a night, that's plenty. Anything else, you're just being lazy and you need to get stuff done.
Keep up. Sleep when you're dead.
What is the one thing that people don't know about her?
I think they'd be surprised to hear how good she is at air hockey. Phenomenal, phenomenal air hockey player. Close on unbeatable, and also a fantastic cook. Jacqui, I'm not sure if Cristina's ever cooked for you, but if you ever get the chance,
no.
You need to ask her for some of her sort of old country that she got from her Aunt Betty, some of the old country Italian recipes. Absolutely knock your socks off.
Fantastic. That's it, Cristina. Next work retreat.
I know. All right. I'm bringing the food.
Fantastic. So, Andrew, who apologizes first after an argument?
Me.
Is it because it's your fault?
9 times out of 10.
Sure. Let's go with that answer.
And finally, who's more competitive?
Oh, we're both very competitive, but I think Cristina, her competitive nature would say she's probably more competitive than me.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Enough about me.
Okay, we're going to go into...
You need to have your husband on, Jacqui, and put you on the hot seat next, all right?
That'll be a hard no. Now, we're going to go into the only man in the house segment. Andrew, let's discuss the demographics in your household. You are drastically outnumbered. So what has surprised you most about raising 3 girls?
I think that young girls are going to be full of energy. I think the volume at which it comes at you was a bit of a surprise. It's never a quiet house. It really isn't. And in fact, those moments when they're all at cheer and dance, like all 3 of them are doing something, the house is spookily quiet. And you kind of wait for them to come back in, and the volume gets raised again. You get the feet running around and things crashing and banging and shouting. And it's never a quiet house, but I love that. There's always this wonderful sort of hum, this undercurrent of noise. Sometimes it's quite a loud hum. When they decide to have a sing-along while you're trying to do a Zoom. That's interesting. But definitely, I think just the energy in the house, you can really, really feel it. It's wonderful.
I love that. So pivoting slightly, what have your daughters taught you about women that no sort of leadership seminar could ever really touch?
I think I could make a joke around girls are even messier than boys, but I think there's actually a real lesson just in how resilient and how strong they can be. It's very, very interesting to see, because sometimes I think with all girls, they might have their little sort of young girl princessy moments, which is, what you think. But then other moments where they are so strong, so resilient, they bounce back super quick. The sheer vibrant optimism that they bring to life every single day around just being excited to be alive, whether it's a school trip or seeing their friends or they're having a sleepover, whatever it might be, they just radiate optimism and excitement for life. They just want to take these huge, big bites out of life. And I think it's because they're young, but also just because of the people they are and sort of the way their mother has taught them to view the world. They're just so excited to be alive and do that next big thing. What are we doing today? What are we going to go and find or do or experience? They just want to really, like I said, take those bites out of life. And it's a beautiful thing. I think it's contagious as well. It gives me energy. It gives me pep. It gets me excited to go out and do stuff as well.
Oh, that's gorgeous. What do you think, though, the biggest misconception is that men have about raising daughters?
They're tougher than you think. They really are tougher than you think. I think there's a big misconception that you need to mm, sort of be hyper aware of the girly things. But
Hmm.
these girls are super tough. They will, they'll fight each other. They'll fight the world. And I think you've got to realize that they are. No, I mean, I had to realize. I had to learn that they tough little cookies, and they're not going to take no for an answer, which is sometimes quite challenging when you're trying to tell them no. But it's the best skill that they can have, I think, in the world we live in, the way they're going to navigate life later. They've just been taught that, like, you don't just accept what's given to you. Be tough, fight for what you want. Don't just take no for an answer. Ask why. Again, tough when you're parenting, but wonderful for them as a life skill.
Absolutely. What are you most proud of as a dad?
A lot. It's been a very, very steep learning curve. I'm proud of things that I've done. I'm proud of them, but I do think it's hard to take pride in it, actually, just because I came in late.
Mhm.
I sort of joined their life years ago when our youngest was 2, and then 2, 4, and going on 10. So I think a lot of their personalities and way of seeing the world had been shaped by their mom already. So it's really, really hard to take pride or credit for the little girls they are. I just generally try to keep up. I try to, I'm just a guy doing his best to do his best, to try and keep up. I think I am really, really proud of all 3 of them for exploring their own personalities, 3 very, very distinct personalities. And that could kind of meld into like one blob. But all 3 of them, very different personalities, very different profiles, very different needs, wants, likes, which is great. They are who they are. They believe firmly in who they are, and they know who they are. And
Unapologetic, Jack.
very unapologetic, like their mom. I'm kidding. They
And
they know exactly who they are as individuals, and they're chasing that as hard as they can. It's great.
mm, that is absolutely wonderful to hear. So on the flip side, what's the hardest part?
Oof. You want to raise strong, tough, confident women. That means trying to raise strong, tough, confident women, and then you got 3 of them in the house. So
Oh,
yeah.
you have 4 of them, 5.
Well, I've got 5, but with 3 of them are sort of under the age of 15. 2 of them are under the age of 10. And when all you want is for them to take a bath, but they are insistent that it's going to be, sing along time or jump on the bedtime, and they will explain to you why they're in the right. They will tell you why it's very, very important that you play this song so they can dance to it before they shower. When you're, it's like I said, it's wonderful knowing how confident and self assured they are. But when that confidence and self assurance comes through, when all you're trying to do is get them to finish dinner, that could definitely be one of the hardest parts.
Andrew, tell me they're Christina's kids without telling me they're Christina's kids.
Exactly. I mean, the world they're going to have to navigate requires strong, confident women. But
Absolutely.
their mother sets a high bar for that. But sometimes when all you want is for them to listen,
Hmm.
think, maybe if they could just be a little more pliable, a
Or
little more docile.
an off button for it. That'd be great.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you think, or how do you earn their trust as opposed to expecting it?
I think showing up has been a big part of my learning curve, and realizing that the more you put in, the more you get out. You can ask a child to do something because you're a parent, but if you're there, whether it's early morning for a cheer competition, late night when they're feeling sick, or middle of the day when you don't say, "Oh, I have to work," and you show up for that dance recital or that school concert or something like that. I think if the more you can show them that you're there in their life and present and showing up for them, they trust that when something happens that either you can't or you need them to do something, they kind of understand there's a why behind it. You're not just this parental figure that's saying, do this, and do it because I say so. I think the more you can show up for them and show that you're in their life because you want to be, and because you love them, and because you're genuinely interested in their development, then when you have to push them a little bit harder, I feel they're a little bit more receptive to, like, okay, I think this person knows what they're talking about.
They'll never
And
admit that they're over it.
No.
and finally, Andrew, what advice would you give other men stepping into blended families?
I mean, it's go slow. Realize that you are going to make mistakes. Be kind to yourself. It's a tricky thing to navigate, right? And every blended family is different. We're lucky that ours generally gets along pretty well. There's not a lot of drama or tension behind the scenes, which is really nice. We're lucky in that way. But I think for anyone stepping into a blended family, just be kind to yourself. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have a steep learning curve. Be open to the experience, and when you do make a mistake, just own it. Yeah, just I did X because I thought I was doing the right thing. This was my thinking behind it. Clearly, it was the wrong thing to do, but I'm taking it on as a learning. And then you just try to remember those lessons. Doesn't always work. It can be tricky, but that's probably the best guide I think you can follow.
Andrew,
And
these have
Andrew,
been great questions. Thank you so much.
he is
Welcome.
the best bonus dad. We're
Thank you.
gonna pivot. We're gonna talk a
Sure.
little bit more about women leadership and allyship. So you've spent your career surrounded by strong women professionally, personally, obviously. How has becoming a girl dad maybe changed your perspective on, seeing women in leadership and your definition of equality and how that may have evolved?
Oh, that's a big question. I think if I look back on my career and some of the mentors and leaders that I've worked under, a couple of the very best ones that I'm in touch with. I lean on them when I started this new job. One of them, Fran Lucken, who's one of the greatest advertising minds in South Africa. Worked under Fran. She was ECD at Ogilvy. One of the most amazing people in advertising, never mind women in advertising. I've been lucky enough to have had mentors like them to learn from in my career. And it's not just, for our girls, for me, even when you go like, what would this person do in this situation? Yeah, women like Fran are sort of top of mind when I think, what would they do? How would they handle this situation? And I think when it comes to what I would want for our girls, I think would be for them to have that self-confidence and belief in their own abilities that some of the best women leaders that I've ever worked with or seen have, where they know that it can be tough as a woman. They know that men can, just be men occasionally, whether it's microaggressions or macroaggressions. I think that fundamental belief in your own abilities and your own place in the world, and it's not about arrogance, it's about self-confidence. Both of you do that really well, where you know what you're good at and you celebrate that, but there's no arrogance about it. It's just, you know what you're good at. I think if we can instill that in our girls going forward, where we can go like, I learned this from a wonderful leader who happened to be a woman. These were some of her habits and things they taught me. Maybe I can pass those on to my kids for them to embrace as future women in the workplace. That would be great. I would love for them to be able to absorb that, but then also try and unlock their self-confidence and self-value so that they know their worth. They can walk into a room, whatever it may be, whether it's business, CPG, marketing, engineering, medical. One of them wants to be a vet. Fantastic. Walk in there and know, I know this about myself. I know this about my abilities, and I'm going to be confident about it. Not arrogant, but know their own worth. I think if we can instill that in them, we would have done a great job as parents and set them up as great future female leaders.
What do male leaders, in your opinion, still misunderstand about creating some of those opportunities for women? Because we talk a lot about equality, and in many
Yeah.
ways, we're not there yet. And what, in your opinion, in light of those things, are some of the best male allies doing right to overcome that gap?
I think there are a lot of men who are taking a more active role in family life now, whether it's because they're single dads or because they want to be more involved parents. But it's still very weighted towards women who carry a lot of the loads from the fetching, the carrying, the taking to the doctor, the organizing the school stuff. And I think an understanding of what a lot of women carry outside of their job is something that'd be really useful to a lot of men. Yes, a lot of men are starting to do that, but the majority of women are also arranging the household, organizing things, and have that second job as mom or mother of the house. And I think for men to understand that this person who's working with you or for you in your team, this isn't their only job. They have another full-time job. So sometimes you need to be understanding of that. I think would be a very important, if more male senior leaders could realize that if you have a high performing woman in your team, there's a good chance this isn't her only job. And she's navigating a second job as a mother or as a head of household. So,
Or as
be
a
aware of
caretaker?
that, be understanding of
I think that's important. I'm going to push you a little bit here because I do think people realize that but they also then use that against them to say, well, I know she's balancing all this other stuff, so she's
Yeah.
not going to be as dedicated, or maybe she's not going to be ready to take on this promotion because then that's one more expectation on her.
100%. It's terrible, but they do weaponize that fact, right? They'll go like, oh,
Mm.
this person's doing a great job as a caretaker or head of household, but does that mean they're ready for this? Because will they be able to find the time? I think women are so much better at finding the time and making the time to excel in multiple things. But instead of realizing that and embracing it, there are far too many male leaders who can use that as an excuse. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solve is. I'm hoping that it can get better. I don't think there's an immediate solve. I think it's going to take male allies and men who realize that they're the problem and kind of push around that. Unfortunately, it's not going to be an overnight thing, which sucks.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be an overnight thing, but what do you hope has changed when our daughters enter the workforce?
Merit. I think just going, who's the best person for the job? Not, this is a great candidate and they're a woman, or this is a
Mm.
fantastic candidate even though they're a woman. That kind of thing. Those modifiers. I really hope that those modifiers go away. Just, this is a fantastic candidate for the job, or you have a great skill set. Let's put you in a position we need, without the secondary add-on of even though you're a woman, or because you're a woman, or despite you being a woman. I would love for that to just fall away.
Amen.
Do you think it might in our lifetime, Andrew?
In some places, yes. I think there are certain fields or career tracks where that's happening more than others.
Mhm.
I think there will still be traditionally or harder to break misogynistic just career tracks that are going to be tougher. But I
Yeah.
think there are some that are getting better at it. In terms of a holistic across the board in our lifetime, it'd be nice, but I'm not sure if
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
there's work for
Yeah.
it. Like I think, it's important that conversations like this happen and there are allies that can help push that. And also
Yeah.
make it part of the culture, right? Whether they're business leaders or company owners or whatever it is, that they can make that part of the culture of that business or that company. That'll help. So you need that being driven from the top.
Agree. Now let's talk about the career path, your career path, because it's a little
Mhm.
bit fascinating. You
Thank you.
started off as a writer.
Mhm.
What attracted you to copywriting?
I have my father to thank for that. Actually, I grew up doing reading. I would just voraciously consume books. I would just read and read and read and read and write, which meant that at school I was very good at like English, getting like high 90s across the board for English. But at the same time, maths, science, not great at all. Christina can confirm that my mathematics skills are not the
Lacking.
best.
Lacking.
Lacking. Yeah. So when it came to school, subjects like English or history or geography, I drew them. I did really well, but then the sciences, chemistry, physics, maths, really battled. Just I hardly passed. It was touch and go as to whether I would pass those or not. So after school, where I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, my father said, "Do you know about this thing called copywriting?" And I was like, "No." And he says, "Well, there's an ad school. It's called the AAA School of Advertising." Christina teases me about relentlessly. In South Africa, the AAA is it's kind of your Miami ad school of
Yeah.
Africa. But it does, when you come to America and talk about the AAA School of Advertising, it does sound a little bit strip mall. It doesn't sound like great. But my father said they've got this thing called copywriting where you can write ads. They'll teach you how to write ads. And we shared some a love of ads in the past, shows like Jasper Carrot's Commercial Breakdown. There was an ad eaters thing where you went, it was a show where you just watched ads and made noises. It was like an evening out. So we shared that and he said, well, you've always been good at writing. Here's a chance for you to do that. Go check out this school, check out this course. And I did. I looked at it and I was like, oh, I can just like write ads. I can be the guy who makes funny ads. That sounds fantastic. And I dove into that, went to the school, learned all about it, and then got my first ad job after that at Ogilvy in Johannesburg. It was just a great example of a parent understanding their child and figuring out what they need. Like this, my dad knew I was never going to be an engineer. He knew that whatever I did would be more of a linguistic track. And he did his homework and said, here's the thing that I think you should check out. I did. It's become my career. It's become something I love doing. So again, credit to the old man for sending me down that road.
That's wonderful. So what made you move from agency life though at Ogilvy to to in-house?
Well, Ogilvy was my first agency job, and it used to be called Brand Activation. Now it's called Geometry. It's a sort of below and through the line arm of Ogilvy. That's where I cut my teeth. And it was the best thing that happened to me in my career. A lot of my peers and friends just wanted to go to the big agencies to make TV ads and famous work. I wound up in a below the line and through the line activation track where we weren't shooting the big TV ads, but we were doing everything else from posters to coasters to promo to shopper, all of that. And I got the understanding of the 80% of work that goes into a campaign most of the time, not the shiny stuff at the top. And it really set me up for success as a differentiator, as a creative who understands the through the line machine as opposed to just the shiny stuff on the top. Plus, in South Africa, pretty much every big agency has a beverage alcohol account. Mine started on beer. And so I had to understand, how does alcohol advertising work? Because there's a lot of similarities across the globe. And then as I went, grew in my career, became more senior, better at what I do. You go to different agencies. Then I moved to Cape Town. I was at FCB for a while. They had the distill accounts. There was more spirits and wine, beverage alcohol, and through the line creative programming was a big part of my career, which set me up as a bit of a unicorn because not a lot of creators have that. They just have I want to make shiny ads. They'll understand a little bit about the logistics of below the line, but I had a really, really deep understanding of it, which gave me opportunities in my life. Like when I went to Dubai, started working at Havas, there was a lot of stuff that I could help lead in the department around below the line content and through the line content. So it opened a lot of doors. For me, it opened the door to then move to Havas in New York, get my green card, stay in the States. That opened the door to in-house then. When I started my career many, many moons ago, in-house was the death of a career. It's where creative careers go to die. Nowadays, it's actually the opposite. You want to be in-house. Advertising agency life is hard now. You're always pitching. You don't know when the holdco is either going to buy you out or cut you down. It's really, really tricky. The independents are fighting for every bit of account work they can. Whereas on the in-house side, you might be an inch deep, but you're a mile wide. You understand your category, your product, your company. There's a lot more job security. You can do better work because you're suddenly understanding what cross-functional collaboration means in a business context, not an agency context. In-house is where you want to be. And I think companies have realized the value of it. It's not just like old creatives whose careers have gone to die and they're bringing them in to help do some collateral. Now they want top-tier talent in the building to do top-tier work instead of leaving it to the agencies or paying the agencies to do it. So I was given the opportunity to move from agency life to Pernod Ricard purely because I've been lucky enough to have had a lot of liquor experience and a lot of below the line and through the line.
In his personal
liquor
life
experience in work. Yes, liquor experience in work. Some personal consumption moments too, but having an understanding of beverage alcohol and a deep, deep bench there from the likes of SAB Miller and that kind of thing, all the way to the liquor side with Diageo and Beam and Centauri and all those. I had that, but then also the fact that I spoke fluent through the line opened the door to moving in-house. And once I moved in-house to Pernod, I was there for I think 3.5 years. I was like, I don't ever want to work at an agency ever again. That just wasn't for me. And then I got laid off and went to go work for an agency for a year. So, it happens. But then, after a year going back and running it out of home, creative studio, got the chance to work at Diageo. I was knocking on Diageo's door for about a year for the role that I have now. It finally came right. And I couldn't be happier. I think the in-house opportunity to do not just great work, but actually have business impact. Is something that's really hard to do at one of the bigger holdcos now and independent agencies. You can win awards, you can maybe win some Effies, but to have real tangible business change as part of what decisions the business makes in-house is where it's at. It was quite a long rambling answer. I hope you got what you wanted out of that question.
No, absolutely, Andrew. No, it was a great answer. But I guess that's where the skills, your unicorn skills that you honed yourself, right? Would you say that's some of the skills that from your agency life that still matter to you today?
Absolutely.
That's helped you?
100%. I think a full understanding of the omni-channel landscape, a 360 view of what goes into marketing, communications, and advertising content is something that not a lot of creators, particularly when they're starting out now, get. Young creators now, they know how to edit. They know how to make TikTok style content. That is content. But do they understand how a promotion in a store will actually, let's even back it up. Do young creators now even understand the difference between top funnel and bottom funnel? Yeah. I'm not sure they do. I think everyone's all like content, social content. That's such a actually small part of what goes into building a brand and communicating a brand. And I think part of our job as senior aged older creative leaders need to take on is to go, no, this is me. Us old, not you young spring chickens on the other end of this call. I'm not convinced that young creatives nowadays are getting the exposure to the full omni-channel mix of what goes into advertising.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to hamper the talent development going forward. Like, do they know why a store does a type of promotion in store? Do they know the difference between on-premise and off-premise? Do they know why CRM is very important? Do they know why, retaining customers is just as important as attracting them at a top funnel?
Yeah. Yeah. Or just,
all of that.
how does that top funnel connect to all of the lower funnel conversion driving parts, like you mentioned, price, promo, package, et cetera, and thinking through that early on.
Yeah. There's, and back at Ogilvy, this is back in the day, I'm showing my age, we had the last mile. When you looked at shopper marketing was, you start up here and then gradually get smaller and smaller and smaller to the point of purchase. A lot of crews like, boring. I don't want to know that. I just want to go out and shoot stuff. But if you don't know why you're shooting stuff, to get someone to a place of like, okay, I've gone from awareness, now I'm going into consideration, and I'm going to purchase. Like if you don't even understand those most basic steps, you don't really understand how marketing communication works. And it's one of the things I work hard on with my teams to go, okay, what's our idea? Number one, but then stop telling me about the stuff you want to shoot. Tell me about how this idea travels through the whole campaign. What someone's seeing in store. What are they seeing on a billboard? What are they seeing in their inbox as a text? All that stuff. I think that young creators nowadays need to learn more of that, to be honest. It makes you a better creative when you understand the full mix.
100%. 100%. And I think as well, Andrew, despite the fact that there's so much social out there, everybody now works in a more siloed manner.
Yeah.
So you have content, you have the folks who work on upper funnel, outside of content, the folks who work on the lower funnel. And there isn't, and very few are actually looking at the entirety of that life cycle, exactly as you said.
I think so, Jacqui. And even this isn't a knock on the process. I understand why it happens. But if you look at your average IAT process when it comes to a campaign, I've been on the client side of IATs. I've been on the creative side of IATs. And the problem is, so you're bringing in an integrated agency team. We're bringing in our brand agency, our social agency, our shopper agency, our influencer agency, our digital agency, our experiential agency, which means you've got 7 different agencies who actually, at the end of the day, are fundamentally protecting their bottom line. So they want to make sure they can squeeze as much juice out of this project as possible. They all want to be seen as valuable. So they're fighting for that visibility of the value they're bringing. And actually what gets left behind is, do we have a cohesive idea and the right specialists working in the right lanes to bring it together, but also talking? The amount of IATs I've been in, and I've probably been guilty of this in the past as well, because you want to protect yourself. You come in going, I want to own the idea. So we're bringing this. And the other agency wants to own the idea. So they're bringing that. And every agency is fighting to be in the spotlight. It's rare. And it's a beautiful thing when an IAT is actually everyone working together. A lot of the time it's fragmented and frustrating and full of swirl because we've got all these specialists in there, kind of forgetting that there needs to be a lot of integration within that, the integrated part of IAT.
Yeah.
So it can be tricky. And that's,
I feel like that's
the
chaos that we see as a consumer and shopper, that it's so disconnected, right?
Yeah.
And the inconsistencies you'll see. Because often there might be like an idea or a creative platform, but you've got 7 different specialists all bring it to life the way they see fit, which often is quite different from each other. So you get these inconsistencies. And I don't think that's terribly helpful for brands. I think the more specialization has its perks, but I think also, Jacqui, to answer your question, I think specialization has made things a bit trickier and also can negatively affect the work, to be honest, for brands.
Yeah, completely. And I think as well with the specialization, you're so into your own thing that you forget, hi, you're here for the client, not for your own self, for the client. And that gets a lot of the time.
For sure. Hey,
but I'm going to pivot a little bit. Yes, Cristina. Okay, Andrew, you started as a writer, as we just discussed. Are we ever getting those children's books that you have been talking about and threatening to write for a long time? Cristina, let us in on the secret.
Oh boy, I hope so. It's definitely one of those log pile projects that's just been sitting at the back of the shed for way too long. I think I've overthinked it, to be honest. I've had the original draft, and that was a bit long, and then I've written more and more, and I think I've just rewritten them a few times. It's a few too many times. got these
They're
three stories.
amazing.
I
He's
actually
not
gave
giving himself credit, and
I
such a
gave the girls
great.
each their own story for Christmas. So I'd written these short tales with these central characters, and I gave the girls each one for Christmas. And the stories that it was a story for each of them, and there was a little bit of them in each story. Yeah, I need to get it done, Jacqui. I really do. I need to stop sitting on this thing, and I think maybe what I need to do is just get it out there, just try, speak
Yeah.
to publishers, like see if
Yeah.
maybe that's what's holding me back. Is if I start doing that, then it becomes real. Maybe I just need to stop being a wuss and just try to get it out in front of some people.
Think of
See what
it
happens.
this way. Not what will you lose if you don't do it? What will you lose if you do? You're not doing it right now and nothing's happening. If you
Right.
do it, either nothing will happen or something beautiful will happen.
And at least you did it. What would you tell the girls? To
Yeah.
be afraid of something and not try it, or to
Are you afraid, Andrew? Are you being afraid?
Yeah.
Is what's happening right
practice
now?
what you preach?
Yeah, I need to stop being a wuss and just get it out there. I need some time. I think what I'm going to do is take a week off. I'm going to go surf in the mountains by myself for a week and just get it done. Christina, you got the house, right? I can just disappear for a week.
Totally.
Do a writer's
Sort of
retreat.
way. Yep.
Fine.
All right. Well, we're going to switch topics. One thing that you mentioned was the switch, obviously being just pivotal in your career into in-house, and how you, if it's on your terms, you'd never go back. So this rise of in-house creative teams is something we've been hearing from lots of organizations more and more. Something I've lived through too, coming from, the brand side. So why, in your opinion, have in-house agencies become so attractive?
I think stability and opportunity would probably be my reactive answer to that. The agency landscape and agency life right now is very volatile. There are amazing creatives and amazing creative leaders doing wonderful things at agencies. I don't want to get that wrong at all. There's fantastic work coming out. But in a lot of places, too many places, that work is coming at a huge cost. Creators are having to work a lot harder just to keep their jobs. It was always a pretty intensive career track, but now the hours that you have to put under immense stress and immense financial pressure, because too many of the agencies are now reporting to a CFO instead of a chief creative officer. It's really, really hard these days to have balance in agency life, because you're always pitching, you're always pushing, you're always afraid what happens if the client puts us on project base instead of retainer. When you're in-house, you have a lot of stability, you have a lot more control over what you put out, and you also have a much bigger idea and understanding of the machine. If I may, and if it gets too long, you're welcome to cut this out. But my biggest learning was when I was at an agency, advertising was the whole thing. It was all we did. And we thought that's all our clients did. As soon as you go client side and you realize that a brand director or a brand VP or even the brand managers, the advertising component is just a short part of what they do. They're also worried about distribution, costs of good, and they, all of that. Advertising is just a part of it. And understanding that unlocks much better work, because when you're working with a brand partner in-house, you go, okay, I now understand why they're pushing this launch date. Well, I now understand why we can't make X and we have to make Y instead, because you have a holistic view of the whole business, instead of just being an agency going like, oh, the client canceled this campaign, or the client can't do this work because they're afraid. There's so much nuance when you're in the trenches with your brand partners to understand why they're making certain decisions. It just gives you a happier understanding of what's going on at your job.
And I mean, that's the value from your side, coming from agency to moving in-house. Why do you think brands have kind of jumped on this bandwagon and are so interested in building their own in-house agencies?
I
What's
think
the value to them?
I think there's monetary value. If we go back to the IoT question we had earlier, now you're having to bring in 6, 7 agencies. The agencies are specializing even more deeply. You're paying a lot of money to just have the agency in the room. Whereas if you've got creatives in the room, you're paying to produce it well or make things happen. You don't have these big overheads, which are just agency fees on a spreadsheet. Just by bringing in top talent in-house, you're going to pay for that talent, but you're not paying the 3, 4, 5-figure sum just to have the agency in the room, which is obviously attractive to brand owners. And it's hard for agencies because they have to keep justifying their value. They have to keep driving their prices up because they're beholden to their shareholders. So I think that's a challenge. That's one of the main things is costs. It's just cheaper.
And I think that the other thing you spoke about, which is being embedded with the team to see everything more holistically. So, they have full access. They understand the brand deeply, not just in the advertising space, but in all aspects. and are part of that. So they have a vested interest then in the brand doing well, right?
They do. They do. And they have, because they have a better understanding of what's happening in the overarching brand story, they can respond better. They understand that there might be a distribution challenge. Okay, so we're going to hold back on the media plan, or this key market's performing better than another one. Let's lean in harder and do some bespoke work for that market. And you can do it way quicker and without having to go, cool, can we first have a scope of work conversation? Because this feels incremental.
Yeah.
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 You don't have to worry about that.
And I think you're aligned in terms of your performance incentives. So you're not both chasing two different things with your own agenda, but you have one, hopefully, goal that you're both working towards. So that's
Yeah, I think
just
it's
from
huge
the
driver
brand side, I know that that's been valuable for us.
for sure. 100%.
All right. So with the rise of AI, the agency model is fundamentally changing. What would you say are the top one or two things that look very different or will continue to look very different?
I think prompt engineering is going to become a necessary skill set for creatives, right? AI is not going anywhere and there's huge value in it. So you have to understand how to use the models or use the tools or whatever agent that you're doing. Much as we had to learn how to craft the writing, or we had to learn how to use Photoshop, or how to use InDesign, how to use an editing program. I think prompt engineering is now a key skill for whatever you want to do. I think you get the opportunity to fail a lot faster than you had before. You can explore tracks, and where you used to have to spend lots of time like mocking up or scamping or thinking, would this work? You can now try stuff and go, I wonder if this will work. You can try a pretty good version of that and go, oh yeah, there is something here. I'm going to explore it, or go, whoa, that was a terrible idea. Let's leave that and try something else. So you can fail a lot faster to get to great. So I think an understanding of how to use those tools to fail hard in the quest for what's great is going to be important. And to do that, you have to be able to prompt. But I think also, and I'm going to sound like I'm banging the same drum as most people. You still need a human hand on the tiller. You still need an aesthetic. You still need an idea. You still need to know, are you saying the right thing? It doesn't matter how you make it. You can make it using a generative tool. You can shoot it traditionally. That doesn't matter. If you don't have a good idea or you don't have something interesting to say, it's not going to work. So you still need arbiters of taste, arbiters of creativity, someone to decide, is this a good idea or not? The human factor is not going away. It's just how we make the stuff that is changing and getting a little bit faster or a little bit more affordable for brands.
Well, thanks for teeing that up. I know Jacqui wants to dive into this even further.
I mean, I've been wanting to ask you this question since we talked about you being a copywriter. About generative AI, Andrew, what do you think people are getting completely wrong?
That the machine does everything. I think that's the biggest thing. They think it's a make an ad for me button. It's not. Cristina has this wonderful analogy where she talks about strapping a jet engine to a horse cart or a jet engine to a wagon, and why you need to use AI responsibly. The one I tend to default to is AI is the difference between a bicycle and a super bike, right? You can still get where you're going on a bicycle. It's just something that takes a bit more time. It's a little bit harder. The super bike gets you faster, but you have to know how to drive. You have to understand what you're doing. So I think people don't understand that AI is not a do it for me button. It's a do it faster button. You still need the idea. You still need the taste. You still need to be able to execute it well. It gets you there faster. It can, but it's not going to do it for you.
Okay, let's look at some buzz versus reality. What is happening right now, and what's happening faster than people actually realize?
I just think the what the tools can do. I'm seeing across the industry. I'm lucky that in my role and the peers that I have and the friends I have in the industry working on different brands or in different in-house teams, we can have these conversations. So you are aware of kind of what's being made traditionally and what's being made with AI. I think the tools, take pack, for example, whether it's a pack of cookies, the writing on a label of a condiment, whatever it is, the tool can now generate that so much faster and so much better. Before, you would always have to lay on your pack shot by hand because the AI just couldn't get the writing right. It was great for
Yeah.
pictures, but the writing or the text didn't really work. Now the text is starting to come right. And you can see that, particularly for CPG brands, being able to use their own pack in the model so it comes out legibly. That's making things go a little bit faster. I think also the fact that stuff can be made now that doesn't look AI is important.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
stuff that looks like it's been shot. There's been a few cases where, again, peers have reached out and said, oh, we've done this piece. What do you think? And I feel like I'm pretty good at spotting what's been generated and what's not. But there's some stuff now where I actually couldn't tell you if it was shot traditionally or shot with AI. Which is great.
Which brings me to my next question. There is a lot of concern. There's some uncertainty. There's a little bit of worry in terms of content being taken over with all these constantly evolving Gen AI tools, right? What does content creation look like in 5 years? You did talk about becoming prompt engineers or learning prompt engineering. What does that look like, though, for the creation of content in 5 years' time, not just right now?
I think, again, you are going to have people who lean into those tools and just upload a lot of B-roll or upload a whole lot of prompts and expect the tool to make your 15, your 10, your 1x1 cut down, your 4x5 cut down. And that work's not going to perform because, again, it doesn't have, is it strategically sound? Is it thought through and then made? I think the teams, whether in-house or agency, that still have strong strategy, strong ideation, strong review processes to get to what's good, they will still be the ones that shine. In 5 years' time, they're going to be making stuff faster, but you are going to have a lot of brands who just think, oh, if a machine makes it for me, it's going to be great. That is going to be even more slop that fills feeds, but the stuff that rises to the top, doesn't matter how it's made, is still the stuff that has an idea, a good strategy, a good plan. So you're going to see that come through a lot more. That divide is going to get bigger of like, here's a brand that just doesn't care. They find a tool and they do it, and their stuff's not great. It's not good.
If you were but if you were hiring a graduate today, right, what would be the skills that matter most to you?
Same skills as 20 years ago when I was hiring a graduate. I want to look at their book and go, do they have an idea? Do they have an understanding of what makes a good idea? Do they have curiosity? Are they okay with just doing something that's maybe a little bit, I would look for the exact same skill set that I would look for in a graduate from 20 years ago in their book. Do they have the right kind of approach to creativity that you want? And then secondary, I would ask them about the tools. And they, not just can they use Photoshop, can they use InDesign? Do they know how to craft a good sentence? But if they are using the tools, how do they use it and why?
Okay. So what would you say are the skills that are becoming more commoditized? And what are the skills that are becoming more valuable?
Prompt engineering, for one, is because there's just a move to use the tools. And I don't think the tools themselves are a bad thing. Same way like guns don't kill people, people kill people. AI can be good, AI can be bad. It depends on who's sitting at the keyboard writing it out and who's hitting the approve check mark. Being able to use the tool is just as important as, well, being able to use the new tools is part of the skill set you have to learn and grow as a new wave creative. In the same way, can you use the other tools we have been using? I think that is going to be important. Is it going to be the be all and end all? Yeah, it used to be you couldn't get a job if you didn't know how to use PowerPoint or Excel. Now you can't really be a creative unless you know how to use a certain suite of tools. This is just another suite of tools you have to get used to using. But again, I go back to this all the time. How are you using those tools? That's what matters.
Okay, and my most interesting question or favorite question of this round.
Yes.
Will AI, Andrew, make average marketers better?
No.
Or great
I'm not even
marketers
going to let you finish that question. No, it won't.
exponentially better?
It'll make great marketers exponentially better. It'll make average marketers worse because an average marketer will think this is a shortcut to getting something done. Shortcuts are never useful. Again, great marketers know what goes into a strong idea, goes into a strong plan, goes into a strong strategy, and they're just flexing the tools to maybe be faster to market, be smarter with their budgets and get stuff out there. Average marketers who aren't putting in that work and think, oh, this is a shortcut, this is how I can get stuff out, you'll see that the stuff that comes out isn't that great. It's going to make average worse, and it's going to make great exponentially greater.
It amplifies the good and the bad.
Nicely
All
put.
right. Well, we're going to put you on the hot seat now, Andrew, and do a lightning round.
Again? Let's do it. Let's go.
Go ahead, Jacqui.
All right. Prompt engineering. Now, we talked about it. Overrated or underrated or not rated enough?
Underrated. I think prompt engineering, if you don't have a good prompt, you don't have a good output.
All right. Human first or AI first?
Human first.
Most overused AI buzzword?
Agentic.
Agentic. In general.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but it sounds agentic. Let's go with it.
Job that will disappear
Ooh.
in your space.
In my lifetime. Can we circle back to that? It's a good question, but
I'm
every time I think a job might disappear, I realize there's still value, like proofreaders. I was like, we don't need proofreaders anymore, but you do. Yeah, you still need a proofreader. Production
What
assistants.
about copywriters? Do you think we still need copywriters with the right inputs?
Absolutely. In fact, I was reading a wonderful article the other day that some of the biggest employers or biggest job creators for writers right now are the likes of Anthropic and OpenAI. Because they've realized that AI copy isn't that good, they need to train their models on better writing. So they are mass hiring writers to train the models to write
maybe
better.
in 5 years when they've done that work.
Yeah, maybe, I think. But also if you look at how language evolves, the way people
That's
speak
true. Yeah.
changes. I
changes.
think
Yeah.
there will always be a need for writers to create good writing for machines to learn off.
So, Andrew, one job that will become more important.
Ooh, I think a job that will become more important will be the creative leadership position, not senior creative leadership. I'm not talking like executive creative director, but I think creative director, someone who is leading the team, leading the other creatives, choosing what goes forward, what doesn't, because taste is going to become increasingly important in a world where a lot of people don't care about taste. They just want content. So I think the role of someone who decides, is this tasteful? Is this on brand or strategy, et cetera, should this go forward, is going to become even more crucial.
And it helps that that's also your job. So let's just secure that right now, cement that in.
It's exactly why I answered the question the way I did. Thank you.
Smart man. All right, last question then. What is your go-to hype song when you're amping yourself up for a big meeting or pitch? Or
I have two. One of them is Beast by a guy called Chris Classic. It's a very, very pump me up song. The other one is a Disney tune from Hercules.
yes,
Go the Distance. It's just a song about believing in yourself and getting it done. But there's a wonderful sort of like heavy metal rock version by a guy called Peyton Parrish.
yes, we've heard it quite a few times in this household, and now it's one. The middle child, JJ, is one of her favorites too. So it's great. It's being amplified.
See, when you're the
Excellent.
arbiter of taste, you can spread ideas and you can spread things and get people to pick up on them.
Well, Andrew, we want to thank you for joining us today. And we want to thank you for your support of SHeCOMMERCE. I would love to thank you for your support of the girls and me. You know, when maybe one last question is, when your daughters are adults, looking back at this time in history, what do you hope they've learned from watching how you have navigated fatherhood, work, creativity, and change?
Tomorrow's always a new day. You can have a terrible day, but the sun's still going to rise the next day and it gives you a fresh chance to do better. Not everyone's going to get the day right. Sometimes you just got to like chuck it in the bucket, put it in your rearview mirror and just know that tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow's a chance to do better. You can always pick yourself up. And hopefully they learn that as well, that you can have an absolutely terrible day. Sun will still come up. You'll be all right.
Chuck it in the bucket. I like that. We're going to use that.
There's a word, it's chuck it in the something bucket, but it's a family podcast.
It is. Ish.
Well, Andrew, with every episode of SHeCOMMERCE, we're building a growing network of female leaders and advocates such as yourself. Will you take the pledge with us to continue paying it forward and amplifying women's voices and helping shape the future of commerce?
I absolutely will.
We know you will.
With that, Andrew, there's just one last thing to say, and that is bold brands, fierce women, one sisterhood.